who was leading an investigation at the time regarding possible ties between Trump's campaign, some of his aides, and Russia. Wray was then appointed to succeed Comey as FBI director, and now it appears that Wray also won't be able to serve out his full-year term, an outcome that he's been preparing for since Trump won the election last month, according to reporting by NBC News. This is just the latest episode that demonstrates how distrustful, paranoid, and frustrated Trump has been of the law enforcement arm of the federal government ever since he first entered office.
In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior, I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. I will fire the unelected bureaucrats and shadow forces who have weaponized our justice system like it has never been weaponized before. It's sick. These are sick people.
Trump has been in search of people loyal to him to lead these various departments and ideally shield him from any future investigations. But as he reiterated over and over again on the campaign trail, he also wants revenge. And in order to do that, he needs someone to help him build the legal apparatus to do just that. And he might have found that person in Patel if Patel can be confirmed by the Senate. Patel has been one of the most controversial figures in Trump's orbit for years. He's promoted the baseless claims that Trump won the 2020 election, as well as other conspiracy theories about the so-called deep state controlling the government. Patel has worked as a public defender and a federal prosecutor, and he's previously held several different administration posts during Trump's first term in office. But this is not the first time that Trump has proposed putting Patel in a top position at the FBI. 4 years ago, Trump floated the idea of making Patel deputy FBI director, but then Attorney General Bill Barr vehemently objected. Barr would later write in his memoir that he told Mark Meadows that he would only allow that to happen, quote, over my dead body, end quote. Barr also added, quote, Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency, end quote. Trump similarly tried to install Patel as deputy CIA director, but that attempt was also met with fierce opposition by then CIA director Gina Haspel, who threatened to resign over the matter. Patel has long been a critic of the federal government's law enforcement agencies, including the department that he now has been tapped to lead. In his own memoir titled Government Gangsters, he wrote about cleaning house in the Justice Department and FBI, including getting rid of those in leadership positions. He's also openly threatened to prosecute members of those agencies and other civil servants across the federal government. And during an interview with Steve Bannon last year, he vowed to go after the press and the media.
We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice.
Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out, which gives you the impression they've already decided what they want to do. They just have to figure out how to do it. Patel's promise to clean house and to go after Trump's perceived political opponents will roil that agency, and it could, importantly, divert time, resources, and attention, as well as deplete the FBI of the manpower it needs to actually investigate serious crimes and threats to the country. But most crucially, the Kash Patel pick brings into sharp relief the danger of not just the breakdown of the rule of law in this new Trump term, but a weaponization of the federal law enforcement apparatus against Donald Trump's perceived political enemies. I'm joined now by Mary McCord, an MSNBC legal analyst and the executive director of its Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection, as well as Carol Leonnig, a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter for The Washington Post, focusing on the White House and government accountability, as well as an MSNBC contributor and author of several books, including A Very Stable Genius, Donald J. Trump's Testing of America, and I Alone Can Fix It, Donald J. Trump's Catastrophic Final Year. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being with us. Carol Leonnig, let's start by talking about Kash Patel. This is a guy who's been in Trump's orbit for some time. He does that thing that people who get appointments into Trump's administration do, in which they postulate and they put out ideas. Kash Patel's idea is that he is going after Trump's perceived enemies in the media, in government, his critics, the prosecutors, and that's sort of his main mission. Talk to me a bit about Kash Patel.
First off, I want to say that I think you hit the nail on the head in describing Kash Patel's pick by Donald Trump as the most dramatic step yet by the president-elect. Signal engines to signal, a huge royal, as you said, of federal agencies. Kash Patel has been. We talk a lot about loyalists in Donald Trump's orbit, but he may be loyalist number one or number two in terms of how much he has been by Donald Trump's side and echoing and co-signing essentially every conspiracy theory that Donald Trump has promulgated. The first was, remember, he was the author of what was called the Nunes memo. He was a staffer for Congressman Nunes and wrote a memo explaining how the claims of investigating Russian operatives' communications with Trump campaign operatives was totally illegal, inappropriate, and kind of tried to undermine the claim underneath this entire investigation. It was a stretch, Patel's argument. He changed a few things to make this argument. So that was the very beginning. But his loyalism went on and on and on. He also was at Donald Trump's side during his New York trial on business fraud claims. He was also with Donald Trump insisting that the FBI had been weaponized to attack him. And let's talk a little bit, Al, about what Kash Patel has said he will do if he gets inside the FBI or if he gets inside an important position. He's talked about the need to close down the Hoover building, the FBI headquarters, and make it a museum to what he calls the deep state, the politically weaponized agents of the FBI. He's talked about the need to reduce the size of the FBI, that 7,000 people is too many. And he's talked about how the FBI gets into all sorts of trouble, politically motivated trouble, when it looks into intelligence. And yet, part of the reason the FBI works so hard on counterintelligence is because of 9/11. He's saying the FBI should just be cops, go be cops, send them out into the country, into the hinterlands, and let them catch drug dealers and those kinds of things. But counterintelligence, as I think you're going to hear from Mary, is a pretty important part of what the FBI does.
I'm very happy you brought that up, because prior to 9/11, there wasn't a Department of Homeland Security, and there are books written about the intelligence that wasn't shared as effectively as it could have been between the CIA and the FBI and other intelligence bodies. Mary, let's talk about this. One of the things that concerns me, less so than Kash Patel saying that he's going after media and government people. That is very serious and very McCarthy-like and very not democratic, and we can talk about that. But the FBI's got a job to do. And historically, it has been on the job or it's been not on the job, and it can be criticized for that or not. But the fact is, if you devote this kind of energy to cleaning house, that may be energy that's not going to some serious national security issues and threats.
There's no question about it, Ali. After 9/11, famously, the wall was taken down between our intelligence community and our FBI doing criminal investigations. And that was because it was perceived, I think rightly, and the 9/11 Commission revealed this, that not sharing information put Americans at risk. It put our safety here in the homeland at risk. And that, of course, came to pass on 9/11. And let's just look at one example when it comes to Kash Patel. Kash Patel, with respect to the Mar-a-Lago investigation and the prosecution that, of course, has now been dismissed with respect to Donald Trump, that prosecution for the mishandling of national defense information, classified information, Kash Patel rushed to Donald Trump's side to say that he had witnessed Donald Trump declassify in bulk information before he left the White House. Therefore, Donald Trump couldn't be prosecuted for mishandling classified information. First off, others within the White House dispute the factual accuracy of that, and there's, of course, no records or nothing other than just Kash Patel saying this and some of Donald Trump's other allies saying this. There's no evidence that that took place. But even assuming otherwise, can you imagine a person like Kash Patel, who has worked at the Department of Justice, has worked in other national security positions briefly, but still has worked in them, Why would he even, as a matter of national security, want to suggest that it would be acceptable to, in bulk, declassify reams and reams of intelligence information, right? The danger to our national security from this kind of bulk declassification really can't even be emphasized enough. What will our allies think if he is the head of the FBI? What will those who have shared counterintelligence and counterterrorism information with the U.S.? They will not be able to trust the FBI as an entity to fulfill its national security role. So I think beyond the danger here to public safety, which is significant here in the homeland, we also have this national security threat.
So, Carol, this is another very important point, and some of it may apply to Tulsi Gabbard too. But in order to get these positions confirmed, Kash Patel's got to go before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and there are some people there who might have these very, very specific concerns that Mary just talked about. That there's actually a potential increased danger. So while they may be critics of the FBI, and there may be reasons to reform the FBI, there probably always are reasons to reform these government institutions. There is a potential danger that extends beyond this that some senators, some Republican senators may feel is a bridge too far.
Absolutely, there are senators now, whether quietly or a little more noisily, are concerned about that exact thing. Our alliances are part of the mosaic, the web that keeps this country safe. And without Five Eyes, without those people trusting us to keep their secrets, to protect their operatives and protect their intelligence gathering sources and methods, why in the world would they help us figure out what's going on in Iran? Why in the world would they help us figure out what's happening in China or North Korea? You know, there are places and physical locations, we won't get into it on a public television program, but, you know, there are important assets that we don't control, and they are foreign controlled, and we need that cooperation. There's one other thing I'd add to this, Allie. It isn't just Democratic senators who are concerned about this. Remember, Republicans who served with Donald Trump, who wanted to see his agenda delivered, were concerned about this particular person being in positions of high authority at the National Security Council, at the CIA, at the FBI, when Donald Trump wanted to fire Chris Wray and his deputy and install Kash Patel as the deputy director. They're just concerned about, you know, his temperament and his experience. And the loyalism that he has for Trump, kind of, no pun intended, trumps everything. Yeah. And you need, in this kind of job, I think a lot of Republicans and senators are saying, this is a worry. You can't have loyalism be the guide for the premier law enforcement agency in the country.
Thanks to both of you. I appreciate your analysis, Mary.